Trump caves. Yes, you heard that right. The same Donald Trump who once famously said, "Tariffs are the greatest," has just done a full 180 on South Africa. The tariff on South African cars, which had jumped to a back-breaking 25%, has now been dropped to a more reasonable, yet still eyebrow-raising, 10%.
Well, I thought that people were jumping a little bit out of line. They were getting yippy, you know? They were getting a little bit yippy, a little bit afraid, unlike these champions, because we have a big job to do. No other president would have done what I did. No other president. I know the presidents, they wouldn't have done it. And it had to be done. What was happening to us on trade, not only with, you know, if you look at it, not only with China, but China was by far the biggest abuser in history, and others also, but somebody had to do it. They had to stop because it was not sustainable. Last year, China made $1 trillion off trade with the United States. That's not right. And now I've reversed it. It's for a short period of time, but we made $2 billion. We're making now $2 billion a day. And somebody had to do it. Roger actually said it. Charles Schwab was here a little while ago, one of the great financial people, and he said he's been waiting for 40 years for somebody to do what I did over the last month. And if you didn't do it, you wouldn't have a country. It wouldn't be sustainable. So I'm honored to have done it. And, you know, look, nothing's over yet, but we have a tremendous amount of spirit from other countries, including China. China wants to make a deal. They just don't know how quite to go about it.
And I know what you're thinking. Wait, Trump backed down to South Africa. Oh yes. Welcome to Giant of Africa, where global drama meets economic twists and presidential plot holes. Now, let's back up for a second. If you've been following the trade war soap opera between the United States and, well, almost everyone, then you know that Trump's tariff tantrums have become part of his brand. His logic: raise tariffs, punish foreign exporters, protect American industry. Simple, right? But here's the twist. South Africa didn't just roll over. No. Pretoria fought back, and not with threats or tweets, but with actual strategy. Legal teams, diplomatic muscle, and, most importantly, pressure from big American auto companies who were not happy about their costs going up because of a sudden Trump tantrum. So what exactly happened? First, South Africa got hit with the 25% car tariff out of nowhere. Boom. No warning, no explanation, just a, because I can, kind of move from Washington. The South African auto industry, which ships thousands of vehicles to the US annually, was thrown into chaos. Cars that were already on ships headed for American dealerships suddenly became too expensive to sell. Exporters freaked out, local manufacturers held emergency meetings, economists nearly passed out, and of course, social media lit up with memes of Trump driving a Toyota Hilux while trying to claim he's buying American. But South Africa didn't just panic, they responded. Trade officials opened talks with US diplomats, citing WTO regulations, bilateral agreements, and even the AGOA deal. AGOA, by the way, is the African Growth and Opportunity Act, a trade deal that gives African countries preferential access to US markets. South Africa basically told Trump, "Hey, we're on your friends list. Why are you stabbing us with economic knives?" And here's where it gets juicy. American automakers started calling the White House. Ford, GM, Tesla, yes, even Elon's crew, they all started sweating bullets. Turns out, many of these US companies rely on South African parts or full vehicle assembly from plants in the Eastern Cape. So while Trump was out here trying to look tough, his own business buddies were blowing up his phone like, "Donald, please, stop messing with our supply chains." Enter the pressure cooker. Behind closed doors, Republicans in Congress weren't thrilled either. They've got donors in Detroit, jobs in Ohio, and car dealerships in Texas all complaining that Trump's tariff is bad for business. So after weeks of mounting pressure, Trump blinked. He didn't announce it with his usual chest-thumping bravado. No, this time, it was a quiet rollback. A small press release, a muted tweet, just a line that said, "South Africa tariff now set at 10% for national security reasons." Wait, national security? That old excuse again. Yes, somehow, importing a Toyota Fortuner from Durban is still a national security threat, but just 10% threatening instead of 25%. Make it make sense. But we're not here to decode Trump logic. We're here to talk results. And for South Africa, this is a win. A 15% drop in tariffs means billions of rand saved in the long term. Exporters can breathe again, factories can keep running, and most importantly, car prices for Americans won't skyrocket because of some ego-driven economic move. So what happens now? Well, South African officials are still not resting. The Department of Trade says they're pushing for the full removal of the tariff altogether. They argue that there was never a real justification in the first place. And they've got support, not just from other African nations, but from European trade allies who've also had their battles with Trump's unpredictable policies. On the ground, manufacturers like BMW SAW and Mercedes-Benz South Africa are cautiously optimistic. They're resuming full production schedules and renegotiating shipping timelines. Logistics companies that were staring at potential layoffs are back in action. It's like someone unplugged the panic button. But let's not pretend this is all smooth sailing. A 10% tariff is still a hit. It means less profit, tighter margins, and higher pressure to remain globally competitive. And it sets a dangerous precedent, because if the US can randomly slap tariffs on South Africa today, who's to say it won't happen again tomorrow? What this whole episode shows us is that the global economy is one big messy game of chess. And sometimes, you've got to be smart enough not to flip the board when your opponent plays a good move. South Africa didn't scream. It didn't throw punches. It used diplomacy, trade agreements, and international law to push back. That's how you win in the 21st century. But what about Trump? Why did he cave? Really? Simple. Votes and money. Trump wants another shot at the White House, and making enemies with American companies over African cars is not a smart campaign strategy. Especially when those same companies are the ones funding your rallies, flying your banners, and printing your red hats. So now he gets to say, look, I still put a tariff, I didn't completely back down. And South Africa gets to say, we brought it down from 25% to 10%, you're welcome. Everyone saves face. That's international politics in 2025. Smoke, mirrors, and carefully worded press statements. But let's keep our eyes open. Because today it's cars. Tomorrow it could be agriculture, mining, or tech. South Africa needs to stay ready. Diversify its markets. Strengthen regional trade. Build alliances that make these kind of knee-jerk policies irrelevant. For now though, shout out to the legal teams, the negotiators, and the cool heads who handled this like pros. And to Donald Trump, thanks for proving that sometimes, even the biggest bluster needs a brake pedal. This has been Giant of Africa. Stay sharp, stay informed, and next time you see a Ford Ranger with a Mzansi flag on the bumper rolling through Atlanta, just know, it's not just a car. It's a quiet symbol of one country standing its ground.